As an artist who lived in New York during the Abstract Expressionist movement, it is no surprise that Margaret Sutton took an interest in experimentation with color-intensive, non-representational, and geometric art. Although this work is untitled and undated, Sutton's technique and experimental style is characteristic of the Abstract Expressionist movement, and the composition holds great resemblance to her contemporaries working in New York. The work is primarily striking in a manner that feels almost intrusive. There exists no comfortable position for the eye to rest, nor a narrative to follow, and the anxious, busy movements created through channels of color have an almost dizzying effect. Throughout the work, Sutton uses an interesting selection of polarizing and conflicting colors that are unconventional for a work that depends so entirely on color. The palette includes unnatural whites and deep blacks among strongly saturated primary colors and greens. Within the outer edges, however, Sutton leaves many channels and rectangles unpainted or untidy, while the inner portions of the painting appear immaculate, suggesting she had worked from the middle of the canvas outwards. Evidence that contributes to the possibility that this work was left unfinished or abandoned may be found in the margins. Sketched numbers and equations can be found in multiple locations, which indicate experimentation with measurements and an intent to finish this work at some point in its creation. Despite the overwhelming first impression, however, a closer examination reveals areas in which a sense of direction is clearly implemented. Towards the center of the canvas, two distinct channels of patterned horizontal rectangles are enclosed by jagged vertical lines that continuously move outward on either side. These formations then create a rippling effect that generates movement throughout the entire midsection. Several elongated channels of yellow and blue outline the center neatly, while the areas surrounding it seem to break off into miniature sections of their own individual patterns, color schemes, and movements. Even so, elongated channels of singular colors and repeated horizontal rectangles of unvarying lengths are among the few universal consistencies. As an artist deeply influenced by the Abstract Expressionism movement, and by peers such as Rothko, de Kooning, Newman, and Matisse, Sutton's work holds undeniable ties to the techniques reinforced within the movement. Hans Hofmann, a German artist who immigrated to America, brought European artistic influences with him and had a massive impact on abstract expressionism, influenced Sutton in a verifiably direct way, as she had attended courses at his school in New York. Although this particular work is far more measured and constructed than the typical abstract expressionist painting, it may be argued that Sutton was attempting to provoke her audience's senses through a use of line, color, balance, and movement, an idea that ultimately intersects with Piet Mondrian's work seamlessly. Mondrian was an influential Dutch painter who founded an artistic movement called Neoplasticism and moved to New York in 1940 after Nazi advancements and bombings posed a threat to his safety. Neoplasticism is generally characterized by a focus on balance and harmony, lines and geometric forms, and using cubist-adjacent ideas regarding the deconstruction of subjects while remaining truthful to reality. Extremely similar to Sutton's choice in colors, Mondrian used varying shades of blacks and whites, some of which are subtly lighter or darker. Seen up close, this variety of values and textures create a surprising harmony of contrasts. Mondrian is more widely known for his works that feature squares and rectangles of primary colors, usually placed next to squares of white, and with black outlining all the forms. Although Sutton features elements similar to neoplastic styles throughout the work, Two key areas are particularly significant: the square found in the bottom right of the work, and, to a lesser extent, the square in the bottom center. While both lack the black outlines, the bottom right uses solid squares of primary colors next to a white square to make up a singular, larger square. Because these details maintain a resemblance to Mondrian, they could potentially offer evidence to the idea that Sutton had seen and carefully observed his paintings, if not during his final years of life spent in New York, then perhaps shortly afterwards.